Well, on Sunday, Israel said it will allow, as we mentioned there, a limited amount of food into Gaza through existing channels until a new mechanism is put in place. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says only a basic quantity of food will enter. Following the advice of the military, Gaza has been under a total blockade of food, fuel, shelter and medicine since March. Hamdah Salhut has more from Amman. She's there because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside Israel.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that he is going to allow the resumption of humanitarian aid into Gaza, but there's a catch. He says that only a basic amount of food is going to go in, and that's because it came at the recommendation of the Israeli military in order to help them with their expanding operations inside of Gaza, he says, in order to defeat Hamas. It's worth mentioning that the Israelis had been blockading all humanitarian assistance since March 2nd. That includes food, water, medical supplies and fuel. Now, the Israelis had largely been opposed to allowing the resumption of the flow of aid until there was a new mechanism in place. But according to sources within Israel, they're saying that the World Central Kitchen and the UN's World Food Program are going to assist with the distribution for about a week until this new U.S. contractor, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, takes over the distribution. Now, the Israeli Security Council had largely approved this new measure around 2 weeks ago when it was presented by the new military chief of staff. At the same time, he had also presented the widening of their military operations inside of Gaza. But as to when the aid is going to resume is still a question on everyone's mind. Hamdah Salhut, Al Jazeera, Amman.
Wassem Mushtaha is Oxfam's Gaza response lead and joins us from Gaza City. Welcome, Wassem. So firstly, if I can ask you what your own experiences of Israel's extensive ground offensive have been in the last 24, 48 hours.
Yes, the past 24 hours have been very hard in different locations. Airstrikes have been intensified across the Gaza Strip and the surrounded area, which make even basic movement dangerous. And let's say the ground offensive has pushed thousands of people to evacuate. Many are coming from north to the central areas in Gaza City, in overcrowded shelters or staying in the streets. What we see now, the entire family is displaced multiple times. Infrastructure continues to collapse. No access to sufficient food supplies, and medical teams are already overwhelmed. Many of us are exhausted physically and mentally, and we are struggling to support our communities as soon as we can. This is the situation now.
Well, bowing to what appears to be a huge amount of pressure both inside Israel and outside Israel, the Israeli Prime Minister said Israel will allow some, quote, basic aid into Gaza following, of course, this 3-month total blockade. What do you understand basic aid to mean?
Hello?
Let me try you again. Wassem, can you hear me? This is Neve Barker in the studio in Doha.
Yes, I hear you now.
Okay,
yes.
Excellent. Let me ask you that question again, because the Israeli authorities say that they will allow in a basic amount of aid, considering that there has been a total blockade on items entering the Strip for nearly 3 months now. What do you and other agencies understand basic to mean?
Basic needs is a big word. Yeah. When we hear basic needs, we understand that to mean minimal quantities of food, water, and medicine, which cannot cover the massive needs after 3 months of the closure. Basic needs doesn't cover a fuel for hospital, safe shelter, hygiene kit, or water or sanitation supplies. Currently, people are not just starving; they are traumatized. Sick and displaced. So while any opening is welcomed, the scale and depth of the need should be increased to meet the demand of people, and basic simply won't meet it. We need more efforts toward the scaling up of the supplies that need to be entered to Gaza.
The Israelis have also talked of, quote, new mechanisms being put in place to ensure these basic supplies are able to get into Gaza. Is anything currently being communicated to Oxfam or other aid groups that you know of over what that might mean, what these new mechanisms might mean for items getting into Gaza right now?
Okay. For Oxfam, we are working as a humanitarian actors. We are aligned with the UN agencies and insisting that aid delivery must adhere the internationally recognized humanitarian principles, including neutrality and independence. We will not engage in any mechanism that undermines those principles. We cannot and will not be part of a system that compromises our integrity or dignity and the rights of people we serve. What is urgently needed is not new obstacles on the ground, but real access, safe corridors, and respect for the international humanitarian laws.
So let me get this right. You understand when Israel says new mechanisms, you understand that to mean Israel directly choosing who gets aid and who doesn't, rather than using organizations, aid agencies that are present there on the ground who have an intimate knowledge of where needs are most.
We don't have a clarity about this, and again, we will not engage in such mechanism which not clear and will impact the dignity of people that we are serving in Gaza.
Okay, Wassem Mushtaha from the international charity Oxfam, Gaza's response lead there. Many thanks for joining us here on Al Jazeera. Thanks for your time.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.